Trump and the Republicans over the last couple of months have been raising quite a stink, all right, over universal voting, mail-in voting for the next election. They'll be trying to say like it's going to compromise the election, and Trump's basically going to use it as an excuse to try to delay the election or say the election was fraudulent or everything. I mean, the election was just fine last time, and the election was fine last time, and he won, and he still said that 3 million illegals voted with like no proof, and people just kind of forgot about it. I'm quite sure he forgot that he even said it, and he's you know, people just kind of like left it alone because everybody knows it's stupid, except for his supporters who still kind of believe it, at least a little bit. Mail-in voting is extremely important and to our election cycle, especially now when so many people are immunocompromised, have pre-existing conditions to COVID, which will put their lives at risk for going out and voting in real life, in the reals. Okay, so a lot of people want to do the absentee voting thing. I know my parents definitely are. They have some pre-existing conditions. I don't want them to go out and vote, and I know they definitely don't want to do that either. So voting is going to be extremely important, and voting, mail-in voting, is quite safe for everything considered. It has about, now listen, double the rate of problems than in-person voting does. But I'm not that great at math, and I do know one thing is that 2 times, if you take 1 and double it, that is not that big of a number. And that's actually the same number that the same rate, 2% of absentee ballots that have problems. So in-person voting has 1%, absentee has 2%. Still 2% is a problem, but 2% really isn't that bad. And I don't really think it's that much of a causing like a ruckus about, but Donald Trump has different plans. With universal mail-in voting, not absentee voting, which is good. 2020 will be the most inaccurate and fraudulent election in history. It will be a great embarrassment to the USA. Delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote? Question mark, question mark, question mark? No. Need to worry about lizard voters? We do need to worry about people's geckos getting their people's pet geckos and tegu lizards getting their absentee ballot and voting for them. This is like a real issue that we need to talk about, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody likes to talk about that. All right. There's no evidence saying that absentee voting, mail-in voting has a massive issue. And when there are issues, we usually find them because we're usually pretty good. All right. When you say that your name is freaking like Alexander Dixon Hand, all right, and you say that you would like to vote for Donald Trump 27 times. Remember when Donald Trump was like, people go to the ballot box, they vote 1 time, 2 times, 27 times. They come in with a different hat, they come on with a different shirt, and they vote again. You know, you can't do that. You say your address, you say your name, they check you off the box, especially if there's not a voter ID laws. You just kind of like check you off the box unless you know like the name and the full name and address of everyone who you'd like to vote for or something, and they don't come to vote, and like there's so many things that have to go right for you to be able to like vote twice, that is just like basically improbable for that to ever happen, and to happen on like a massive scale. So this is just false. But the really good thing, the white pill here, white, just like this white balance, just like me being absolutely murdered by a Assassin's Creed like loading screen here. Trump's assault and the Republicans falling in hook, line, and sinker to the assault on mail-in voting will actually hurt the Republicans, because like it or not, lots of Republicans have pre-existing conditions. Where I live, the state I live, it's one of the worst states when it comes to getting government aid, because there's so many people who have so many pre-existing conditions, disabilities, who are on disability leave and stuff like that, who have to get paid, who can't work. There's so many people like that, and so many people aren't going to be able to go to the ballot box without dying. So a lot of them want to vote. So the Republicans actually crushing voting is going to hurt them a lot, which is something they're starting to, pull back on, but they can't go too far out of line with Trump without getting, marked as a traitor or something. The Republicans do have a much older voter base, and those voters are more likely to do mail-in voting. you know. But just like it is a galaxy brain move. It's a crazy move, and a lot of Republican strategists are starting to push back on it because they're like, wait a second, like all of our people vote by mail. This is way we got a problem here, guys. Chill. And actually, we can see it here. Democrats since 2016 have doubled. They have doubled the amount of people who have requested mail-in ballots compared to 2016, and the Republicans only went up by 20%. So the Democrats have an 80% gain on Republicans when it comes to mail-in voting, and a lot of those Republican voters aren't just going to be showing up at the ballot box now. They're just not going to go. And not voting in this election is very, very good for the Democrats and extremely bad for Trump. And there's some people who are starting to get a little starting to get a little antsy about it. Did the president tweet it? Because maybe a little bit, but it's been shifting for years now. Susie Wiles said she's been tapped by the Trump campaign to help buoy the president's newly troubled Florida campaign. If COVID is still a level of concern that it is now, early vote after absentee is probably the next best option. So even the people who are being tapped by his campaign to try to get them to vote, to try to help his campaign out, are starting to not really pay attention to him saying that absentee voting, mail-in voting is a big problem because they'll need it in the next 3 months. GOP operatives are voicing their concerns over the strategy. Why give the Democrats 10 or 11 days to vote and expect Republicans to vote in just 1 day? This is a really big problem here because with early voting and lots of Republican states closing down or thinking about closing down early voting. Sorry. 1 second. Sorry. The Democrats have a much bigger window to vote than Republicans do. Listen, like I said, I'm not that great at math, but 10 or 11 is bigger than 1. And this really shows you how stupid Trump is, and how completely toxic he is to the Trump administration. But to his own administration and to the Republicans. I mean, he marched them to their own death and demise in 2018 when it came to those tax cuts and the attempt to repeal Obamacare. But I mean, they went with it hook, line. They went with it that time. So maybe they won't go with it this time. They're starting to show signs of pushing back a little bit, but I don't know with how scared a lot of them are for Trump to send out a tweet storm about how terrible they are and how they want their opponent who's running against them to win because they're a better Trump supporter. I don't know. Maybe a lot of them just won't say anything. I'm doing blackface right now, so basically, I mean, Trudeau. There you go, President True. We're basically the same thing. But this won't even knowing that won't stop Trump from trying to pull the rug out of lots of Republican voters. Pull the rug wow, I can't get this analogy right. Pull the rug from under Republican voters' feet, because his new postmaster general is now cutting services of many postal service operations. He's making some issues at the election. He's of the upcoming election. People are starting to report a lot of problems when it comes to mailing in their ballot recently. We're starting to mail things through USPS, and this could be a real problem coming up because a lot of those rural places rely on USPS because no other postal service provider comes to freaking Bufu, Egypt, out in the middle of the freaking cornfield, out in Wyoming to go pick up their ballot. Okay, no one does that. FedEx doesn't do it. Nobody else. UPS doesn't do it. Nobody else does it except for USPS. All right, and this is going to cause a massive problem for rural America when it comes to voting, and will only give the Democrats an edge. So, that on top of Trump saying that we may need to delay the election, he can't do that. But I'd love to see him try. No matter what, his presidency gets lapsed on the 21st of January 2020. So no matter what, he's gonna get out of there. Hopefully, if the polling trending sticks and a lot of Republicans get out, we could be looking at a Democratic president, House, and Senate very soon. I'm down.